everybody. Welcome to Nexus at Night, your weekly Vanguard podcast, brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/Nexus at Night. Like our $10 patrons, Darren and Cole. But I'm not either of those people. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And today, because we have a little bit of a lull in news, we wanted to talk about our trading card game Origin Stories.
We really don't want to talk about TDs that badly, understandably. But
guys,
TDs, everyone.
What about this 10K vanilla? What does that mean?
Dude, the fact that there was a 2-day discussion over an 8K vanilla made me want to die.
Wait,
I was like, Proof Court had a 2-day discussion over the 5K or the 8K vanilla with 5K shield. Literally 2 days. And people were saying these absurd things like, well, why does this card need to exist? And I'm like, well, they need to exist so new players know what the hell to take out. It's to make players make basic card evaluation. Something you all have been guilty of being bad at.
And I'm sure we've all been bad at it at some point or another.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But you don't learn, like, these obvious good-bad card evaluations are definitely important. So.
Yeah, well, it's a thing. But yeah, this episode idea comes to you from my lovely girlfriend Katie, who she was like, I have an episode idea. Why don't you talk about what got you into trading card games and like the story of how you all met each other.
Okay, this is not what happened. I'm going to make a guess, and that's not how this went down. I'm going to guess that it went down in that your girlfriend was like, why are you such a nerd? And then you're like, aha, an episode idea.
No, that's how I write my jokes. It's people going like, why do you suck so hard? And I was like, that's got a punchline to it. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go first, being the eldest.
Okay.
So I began my card game adventure in, what was it, 1999? Somewhere around there. I started playing the Pokemon TCG. Well, I was introduced to the Pokemon TCG when I lived in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And kids around the neighborhood were showing each other their Pokemon cards. So I need to get in on the action.
Mm-hmm. How old were you at this point?
I want to say 10.
Okay.
It was when Base 1 came out. So this was like literally the first set of Pokemon. Pokemon was blowing up. We were all playing the games for the Game Boy regular.
No color just yet, just the Game Boy.
Like, we were all kind of, we were all just getting in the swing of things. I think I got Pokemon right when it first came out. We ended up getting both of them, one for me, one for my sister. My sister never played it. So, they
older
ended up
or
being
younger
both
sister?
Me, I guess. 1 year old.
So you just played two of them with two Game Boys and traded them all the exclusive Pokemon.
That is 100% correct.
What, was it like that thing where, like, for the first... Until I think about puberty, there's that thing where if you're two siblings, like, 4 years, apart from each other or less, it just becomes like, oh, one kid is getting this, the other one's getting this, because they're going to argue about it otherwise.
Well, I think it was just like they didn't know, like, who would be interested in that yet.
Mm-hmm.
So they're giving it both a shot, because it was like, I mean, I think it was some of that, but also some of like, well, we have two of them, like we have two Game Boys, so might as well get two games. So,
yeah.
And we played them on road trips a lot because we take road trips to visit our grandfather who lived in Florida, and then he eventually moved to Alabama. But so that road trip, it was probably useful for them to have us doing literally anything. And the Game Boy was quite satisfactory for that. But yeah, since already being a fan of whatever a fan meant, I guess, like just enjoying Pokemon at the time, being a kid and enjoying whatever I could do. The card game came out and I was like, oh, this looks pretty dope. And we try to learn the rules to the card game, go to like Books a Million to play in some events where I was playing like some bad like Poison Nidoking based deck or something, and my opponents were like men in their 20s playing Haymaker.
What? So they just punch your lights out?
Oh wow, that's really good. Yeah, exactly. And yes, but I still played a lot of Pokemon, and then at some point or another, I was at a mall and I went to a bookstore called Walden Books or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
and they had some Magic packs, and so I bought a pack of Nemesis and Urza's Legacy. No, not Nemesis. No, Exodus and Urza's Legacy.
I can't believe he can remember the names of the packs. That's incredibly impressive.
Yeah. So I bought a pack. So I still remember this because that pack of Urza's Legacy that I bought was a Grim Monolith, which is a decently valuable card. Well, it was a decently valuable card at one point. And and then the Exodus pack, I pulled some garbage shadow card. I don't remember the name of it. I remember the art, but I don't remember the name. It was a blue card. And so and that's how I got into Magic, and then it's been Magic for a really, really long time until I came to California when I was in graduate school, and where I was introduced to Weiss and Vanguard.
Okay.
And your life was ruined forever.
And that was in 2011. Didn't even start playing Weiss until a little after that. So maybe 2013 I didn't really start playing Weiss.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started playing Vanguard later that year, or maybe the year after.
So, were you introduced to like the concept of like going up to the hub at UC Riverside and
Yeah. So I was a friend of mine, we started a gaming club, and so we started playing board games mostly, but a lot of us played Magic anyway. So we started like holding drafts and stuff, and a lot of those people would hang out at the hub, so we would just also hang up there and then just like play Magic or play Weiss or play board games or what have you up at the top of the third floor of the hub. And then eventually, as I met you at some point or another, and then we play Vanguard, and I play Vanguard with my friend Eric as well. Not the Eric that's been on the show, a different Eric.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would play. He was the guy I would play like 2-minute games with.
What do you mean 2-minute games? Like just
like we would play like absurdly fast.
Oh wow! I think I remember that where like just your hands would move almost faster than the human eye. You're like.
The best part is one of us was playing Dark Regulars. So we were playing really fast and just like soul charging, like just not even looking. It was great.
Yeah, you're just like fan out the soul. There it
is. It was like Blitz chess, man. It was great.
What's Blitz chess? That sounds awesome.
Blitz chess is where you just have chess, but you have really low timer, so you have to play really fast.
Oh, so probably a lot of mistakes made.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you make moves based on instinct more than actually reading.
So Blitz chess makes me think like the Nazis would have invented that. They're like, Blitzkrieg, Blitz chess. That's the way you're supposed to do it.
I mean, Blitz is a German word, so I guess that checks out.
What,
but
meaning
not
lightning?
Not,
yes.
But probably not the connection you should be making.
Yeah. Well, because Blitzkrieg is lightning warfare, so...
Yeah, it just means fast.
Yeah.
It means go fast. At least 2 Sanics.
Yeah. So, let's see, and then you met us, and then I gradually roped you into fucking doing a podcast with me.
Yeah. So I got baited onto it originally over talking about maybe Dementia Place at some point.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Hey, how would you like to be a guest?" And I'm like, "Oh, sure." And then I was like, "I wonder how long this is gonna last." And here we are.
Yeah, you didn't think it was gonna last very long, did you? But
Alice is a very stubborn person, if I've learned anything.
Mm-hmm. All right, I guess I'll go next. My first introduction to trading card games of any sort, it was like some summer camp when I was 7 or 8. This is, if I was born in 94.
I think we're going to learn that like 8, 9 years old is going to be the prime age at grabbing people into TCGs.
For millennials, definitely. But yeah, it was like 8 or 9. I remember somebody, like, people were playing Yu-Gi-Oh! On the playground, but because this was a summer camp where we were supposed to, like, run and jump and, like, do sports, it was not exactly smiled upon by the staff of the camp. So it would be this thing where, like, people were playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, the summer camp was at an elementary school that was just not being used, so it was, like, behind one of the classrooms where they couldn't find us. Or whatever, and then someone would be like, "What are you doing? We're playing dodgeball. Get out there." You're like, ugh. I remember the first card I was ever given was a copy of the Stern Mystic, uh, which is just I think it was from like the UD starter deck or something. But someone gave it to me. They're like, I got 4 of these. You can have one. Let's see. It's a flip effect. All face-down monsters on the field return face-up and then return to their original position. No card effects are activated when they're flipped face-up. Now, granted, because we were 8, nobody knew how the effects of Yu-Gi-Oh! Worked because this was during Duelist Kingdom where they were making shit up on the fly. And we were like trying to, figure out how the game worked from there. So no one really knew what to do. It was mostly just I collected these because the pictures are cool. I didn't.
Checks out.
Yeah, and then a friend of mine in elementary school, Adam Bennett, was he was playing MTG, and he got me into it. Where it would be like I go over to his house and he'd get me to play with him, and like he taught me the rules and how it worked, but I never really got into Magic on its own. It just didn't really entice me. And then in 2008, a friend of mine from, I want to say middle school, named Jonathan Lovett, he got me into Yu-Gi-Oh! And like taught me how the game worked for realsies this time. So he gets me into the game, and this is during the era of Teledad.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, so like this is during the era of Teledad, and like now that like I'm around 14 at this time, so I kind of know how to research and like how the card effects work and all that stuff. And Jonathan took me to a local store called the Bullpen in Los Angeles. And I went to the Bullpen every weekend, pretty much, from 2008 to 2012. So all through middle and high school, every weekend, my Saturday was spent going to the Bullpen, playing locals. And I played a lot of cards and made a lot of decks. Like, during the Teledad era, the best course I could think of was... this would be the game where the time where they would go, all right, I got 2 Stardusts and I'm gonna kill you next turn, and you can't destroy cards. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna send Skyscourge and Orlaris to the graveyard with trade in. Then I'm gonna summon Phantom of Chaos, banish Skyscourge and Orlaris, pay 1,000 life points, send everybody's hands and fields to the graveyard, and then I draw a card. And they're like, but Stardust. I'm like, that's sending, not destroying. And that was the best thing I could do. That's all I could do. Because, like, I couldn't afford any of these cards. You're 14. I don't have a job, right?
Yeah.
So it just became a thing where I would do that and just be like, okay, we're starting basically from 0, and then just, like, trying to spam a field based off of, like, top decking for the rest of the game. It worked okay at the time. I can't really remember a lot of what decks I played during those 4 years, but I can remember a couple. There was, like, near the end of my time there, I played a deck with a card called Reptilian Vasti, which was a level 8 that you could normal summon or set it. You could special summon by tributing 2 monsters with 0 attack on either side of the field. So I was playing a lot of cards that would, like, zero out the opponent's attack on stuff and just make tokens. So, like, Fires of Doomsday, stuff like that. And then you could summon her, and then she got a free pop once per turn. So you'd, like, summon her, run over the Stardust, pop something, set 2, and wasn't super amazing, but it was a fun deck for the time. And I ended up quitting my senior year of high school because I got a girlfriend. And... yeah, and that's being horny for you. And she also was like, "This is dorky. Stop it." I'm like, oh, okay.
You're dorky.
Thanks.
That's what you should have said.
I don't know what sort of things, like, your first girlfriend, like, for real, is one of those things where you're like, okay, I cannot be myself because I'm gonna fuck it up. I have to do exactly as the internet and everyone around me and she says. Otherwise, I might not get to do stuff. 2012, I graduate high school, and I had already started doing stand-up comedy at this point. I started stand-up in spring of 2011 after I got my wisdom teeth out. And while I was high as balls on the Vicodin, decided to try stand-up comedy because I saw a poster at a coffee shop. I bring this up just because it's a very core tenet of my personality, as card games are, so they're kind of intertwined with each other. But yeah, so did that, and then I took a gap year between high school and college because I knew I wanted to do comedy, and I didn't really know what I wanted to major in, so I just thought, okay, you work for a year and stay at home. And it was during this time that I met a man named Gabriel Feldinger, who you might know from Nexus Tour. I was walking through the West Side Pavilion in Los Angeles, which does not exist anymore, and Toy Mandala was a nerd store in there, and I kind of popped in because I was like, I wonder what's going on with Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And I see people playing this game called Vanguard, and they kind of taught me how to play there, and Gabe especially was very nice and taught me how to play, and then I just kind of got into it, and I was like, well, now you have a job, so you can afford to buy cards for yourself. And I did that. So during that gap year, I met all of the people who, not just from Nexus Core, but other friends of mine, like Trace and Jesse G, and people who none of you have met. I'm not sure why I'm bringing them up, but they would go to, what was it? Power Anime.
People.
What did you say? You've met some of these people?
I've met some of these people.
You have, but the listener is like, who the fuck is Jesse G? I don't care.
Like a singer or something? I feel like I've heard a singer by that name.
Everyone has singer names in LA. That's just how it works.
No, it's just because we had two Jessies, so Jesse G, Jesse,
One of them gets to be that one, huh?
Yeah, so it's much like we will get to Alvin, Alvin's origin story. A similar phenomenon will come up there. Yeah, so did that, went to Power Anime for most of that year off. I was doing that, I was doing stand-up, and I just kept playing Vanguard. Eventually, Miles, Gabe, and Richard ended up starting Nexus Tour. I kind of went along for the ride because I was like, why not? And then, when I got into UC Riverside near the end of, or the beginning of 2013, like that spring, Richard was like, oh, I'm going there too. I was like, cool, we can hang. Well, during that, time, I was kind of roaming around UCR's campus, looking for stuff to do, and then you wander to the top of the hub where you see cards everywhere. And you're like, this is where I'm going to hang forever.
I found the spot that I belong.
I found my people. This is in addition to some other stuff like starting a pickup baseball league, which I advertised by wearing a grass skirt and roller skates, going around the campus handing out flyers to people.
This is not even the most remarkable things that happen on college campuses. That is the most impressive part of this.
I know, right? You're skating past the Westboro Baptist Church fuckers, just...
Yeah. Or that time there were dueling protests where there was an anti-abortion thing up, and then there was a protest to the anti-abortion thing across from them.
Yeah,
incredible.
I mean, that's a thing, right? You got counter-protesters and protesters.
Yeah.
I was like, please just let me get to class.
Wait, were they blocking classrooms off? Or I thought it was no. Because they were over by the bell tower, the quad, quote unquote.
Yeah. But I had to pass by the bell tower sometimes. That was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was mostly through my time at UCR. I was meeting people like Matt and Root Beer, and
I apologize for that.
Okay, see, now I want you to do that to when you introduce yourself. My name is Matt Barber. I apologize.
I am sorry you have to meet me.
Oh my god. So, yeah, the rest of the time at UCR, you kind of already know as the listener. These stories have come up both on the show itself and on our bonus show, patreon.com/nexusatnight. But I will tell one last story just about the hub where I was hunted during my senior year.
Hunted.
Hunted, yes. So the hub, it was like, they had like a cafeteria on the bottom floor. The top floor is where we'd hang out, and you had like offices and things like that on the intervening floors. Well, in order to get to the top floor of the hub, you would have to go through the cafeteria, and people would get food there, and I, being the little asshole that I was, carried around a water bottle that I devoted specifically to stealing soda from the soda fountains in the cafeteria, because they didn't keep them behind a counter. You could just walk up and do that. Now, normally you're supposed to buy a cup from the cafeteria and use that to get your soda. But yeah, so one of the cafeteria workers got pissed off at me in particular, even though I probably wasn't the only one to do that, and yelled at me a couple of times. And then eventually he decided to hunt me. And by that I mean he started pulling aside people that he saw me with. So you two, various friends of ours like Ash and the other Alvin and Chris and all them being like, have you seen this guy? Did he ever take a picture of me? Did he show you guys a picture of me?
I don't believe so.
I don't think he's ever asked me specific. Well, no, I don't think he's ever asked me. I know he asked Chris. That's what I know.
Yeah.
I remember the day when Chris came up to him and was like, "That somebody was asking about you."
I remember that, and I like when Chris said that, like, I swear to God, a fucking Hitchcock zoom happened. I was like, oh my God. I'm being hunted. So it got me to shave my mustache and beard, which I never do. And like literally walk around with a hood and just be like, I can't be found by this guy. I avoided going to the bottom floor for a long time, and he never found me. But I like to think to this day he's just walking around like, look, I know it's been 5 years, but like he's out there somewhere, and I'm gonna find him. God forbid I ever get on TV or something as a comedian. It's going to be like that meme with Leonardo DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Ooh, there he is. I know him. The fucker who was stealing soda. But yeah, that's my origin story of card games, and here's to many years more of me wasting my money on cardboard crack.
Hell yeah, brother.
Root
Hey,
beer,
it's better than wasting your money on a PNG.
That's
Wait,
true.
what? Oh,
Gotcha. You know what? PNG is too generous. Most of them are JPEGs, let's be real.
Wow. I believe it.
But yes, my card game origin story. So, I vaguely remember having a Yugi starter deck in elementary school. I cannot possibly remember the specific year. I suspect sometime in the first grade or something like that. But yeah, that was what got me started on Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it was a popular show at the time, and fucking everyone played Yu-Gi-Oh! So I had a Yugi starter deck because he was the main character, and I was a kid, so of course I wanted to be like the main character.
I mean, his hair was fucking awesome for what it was.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
And I think at the time I did not understand just how amazing Summon Skull was for that era of the game.
It was insane.
Because it was all about like the Dark Magician and the Blue Eyes White Dragon, even though Summon Skull has the same attack but only required one tribute.
I mean, we didn't
Well,
really
it has
know
the
it.
same attack. It has the same attack as Dark Magician. So Dark Magician was clearly bad because you had
Yes.
Summon Skull, which was like the same card but better.
Mm-hmm.
Now Blue Eyes, if you got it out, nothing checked it. So that was value.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Yeah.
we've tweeted about this because Matt, you sent us the link here, but it was like the beginnings of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, which it's a very interesting video, and I would highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Checking
think
it out.
John Chaden showed me that, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome."
Yeah, I can't wait for the next installment because it goes to like 2005, and we're like, ooh,
Yeah, that video is dope.
Yeah, and then I remember like for a while we didn't have physical cards, so we just played imaginary Yu-Gi-Oh, but I didn't know GX existed at the time, so my friend was pulling out cards like Elemental Hero Thunder Giant, which for my brain that was still stuck on the Dark Magician, I'm like, what the fuck?
Thunder Giant was like you pop something when you summon it, right? That's it.
Yeah,
Oh.
but that's still like better than anything my vanilla Yu-Gi-Oh card ass had ever really known about up until then.
It's a
And then
very apt description. Vanilla Yu-Gi-Oh card ass.
Yeah, and then I remember in middle school having the most like janky deck that I threw together off of like random cards that I got out of booster packs. It was like a bunch of random fairy cards. I think I had a Frost Monarch in there, which was like the best card ever because was great at the time. I wish I could remember what the actual like fairy monsters were, but yeah, that was just kind of how I played Yu-Gi-Oh for a bit. Was I just had one or two friends during summer school that played, and we would just play with the most janky, slapped together random decks.
It's the way to do it.
And then I think during like high school, I played a lot on Dueling Network back when that was still a thing.
Well, now it's Dueling Book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like I think that was during Exceeds. So I played like a Gusto deck that was terrible, but it was really funny because you would just crash a bunch of low attack monsters and make your opponent take battle damage.
That's
that
fun.
was great. And then like I just kind of stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh for a while after that, and I haven't bothered with it since. And then just didn't play any card games for a while until like third year of UCR during the summer because I normally live in San Francisco. But I had to stay in Riverside for that summer to take summer classes so I could graduate on time. And I think one of my friends' ex wanted to try out Vanguard just because, so he convinced me to go buy starter decks with him, so I had bought the Asha starter deck. And played with him and my friend Jose, who taught me the rules. And then eventually Chris came along because Chris is friends with everybody.
I know, right? He's like such a friendly, affable guy, and admittedly, I kind of hated him for a while, which that's my bad.
I think Jose like vaguely knew you guys. He knew that there were a group of people who hung out at the hub, and he was friends with Alvin Zhao. So like him and Chris introduced me to you guys, and that's kind of where we've been since.
Again, I would like to apologize.
And
would you like to tell the story of the nickname Root Beer again, Atlas?
Yes, sure. So, as Root Beer said, there was an Alvin Zhao, there was an Alvin Wu. We're like, this is annoying where you say Alvin two heads turn. So we were trying to decide, one of you needs a nickname, because this is getting annoying. So, I think, Matt, wasn't it you that came up with a nickname?
So it was me. So his initials were AW. So I said kind of in jest that we should just call him Root Beer.
Yes. Because...
And,
And it turns out I didn't hate that nickname, so here we are.
There was a time for a while where someone was like, we could just call Alvin Zhao Arizona, because, like, the state. I'm like, that's too many... Root Beer versus Arizona. Like, that's...
Too many syllables.
Yeah. Alvin Zhao. Like, his real name is less syllables than the nickname he would be getting.
Yeah.
So it just kind
of... Also, he was with you guys longer, so he had Alvin seniority.
I didn't even think about it that way. It was mostly just for brevity's sake, where I was like, alright, Root Beer shorter, it's Root Beer.
Yeah, and I was really confused the first time you said it, because no one had consulted me about this.
Yeah, I think that's what's supposed to happen with nicknames. You don't really get to choose them, they just choose you. Like a reverse Pokemon. Yeah, it's like in middle school, everyone called me Assless No Cock, so that's not going anywhere.
No, don't say that. Everyone's gonna call you that in the comments.
Oh, of course they are. Fucking bring it on, bitch. Like, Yeah. So that's that's how root beer happened.
Yeah. My origin story was very brief.
That's it. That was the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't start going to locals until like I started playing Vanguard because X and Chris dragged me to locals.
Yeah, we would go. What was the name of the place? It was in a mall in Moreno Valley.
Right? No. Fuck, what was it called?
We would go
I
there.
honestly can't remember.
Yeah, the I remember like going with Matt a few times, or with you or Chris or whoever, because I had a car.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. We've told the story about taking Matt to regionals and
Yeah,
his
his appendix.
my
appendicitis. That's been told so many times. I guess we should tell the story of Jared, right?
Yes.
Okay, so our friend Jared, he was. I worked when we were at UCR. I worked in the call center. We were the people who called you after you graduated, asking for money. We are scum, and I acknowledge that. But because you're in a call center in like a cubicle, people would like bring a book to read or something to fiddle with. So I would naturally whip out my cards and start like goldfishing with myself, because what else are you gonna do for 3 hours? And this guy Jared, who was like new working there, he was like, "Hey, what is that?" And then I kind of explained it to him, and eventually like invited him up to the hub to come play. And did he play Magic before, like as a kid or something? Because he had TCG experience.
I think so. I vaguely recall all him discussing Magic with either James or Matt.
Yeah, I believe that.
So when we taught him to play, he was like, he kind of went along for the ride, but I don't think he really got into it. Except there was this one time where there was a team regional, and one of our this was the day that Matt got appendicitis, right? Or was that a different? Okay, so Matt got appendicitis, and we kind of asked Jared like, "Hey, can you be our third?" And he was like, "I kind of don't know how to play." I'm like, "We'll figure it out."
This wasn't the same. This wasn't the same one.
It wasn't the same one. It was a different.
This wasn't the same one. This is one that it was an event that I was at, but yeah, I don't know if we knew each other as well at the time.
Okay. All right, so it was.
But I was at this event, so my apologies on that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Everything kind of blurs together over time.
It does.
But so we took him to a diner before the regional started, and we taught him not only like the intricacies of how his deck worked. It was the Bloody Odal Legion for Spike Brothers. And we took him with us, and he did pretty good. The best part was there was one of the rounds where he was playing against. This was during the Revenger Legion, and he ended up winning. And the guy like had clearly spent way too much money on the deck. He was like, "I gotta win. I have the best deck." And then Jared, who is like the coolest cucumber in the universe, he is so chill. Just like, "Okay, you got me to 5 damage." Okay, and like the best part was because again he didn't quite know how this worked. He was picking up and reading every card, and like, wait, can I see that for a second? Like every little step he took, just toward victory. Like imagine if you were what's the best way to describe it? Like you were playing chess with somebody, and they were like, "Now wait, hang on a second," and they would like consult the rule book every time, and then they just end up beating your ass. You'd be kind of pissed off, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I love him for not only going along with us, like he could have just said, "No, fuck off, it's Saturday, I want to sleep in." But he did the best he could, and he did quite well for himself based on the tools he had at the time. So kudos to you, Jared, for that. I don't know if we've ever told that story on the show before.
I feel like we have, just not in that much detail.
Yeah. One other thing I want to bring up from my story my origin story that I forgot to bring up was my friend Dan, who would, he was going to bullpen every week with his brother Austin, and he and I weren't like super close friends at first, but my parents went through like a really nasty divorce, and after 10th grade I went from the private school I was at to public school, and Dan was at that school, so he was kind of showing me around, and we became super close friends and are friends to this day. So the best friends I've made in this world, 9 times out of 10 have been because of card games.
Nice.
So, everyone's like, what is it good for? It's cardboard. It's cardboard cracked, but it makes you friends. Hallelujah.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just have to clown car on your way to a regional.
Oh, God. What's like the worst clown car you've been a part of?
That was the only one.
How many of us, it was like 4 in the back, and then...
Yeah, I think it was like... Because you and Matt were up front, so you had it good, and then it was like Richard, me, Alvin Zhao, and I think it was Jared? I can't
Probably
remember I can't remember our fourth, but there were 4 of us squished together in the back, while you two got to have it nice up in the front.
I was driving Matt's fat. It happens. I'm also fat, but that's beside the point.
We're all
Could've
fat.
Yeah.
We could have made it better for one person and worse for 3 others.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh my god. But yeah, so I thought this would be like just a good time to tell our origin story, and I asked you, the listener, like, do you have any origin stories about the world of trading card games? Like I asked you, and in order to fulfill that request, the best way to do that is you can tweet at us at Nexus at Night. All 3 of us have access to the account. Someone will answer you. If you want to support the show, you can also go to patreon.com/Nexus at Night. We have a whole ass bonus show every week. Price a cup of coffee a month, $5 a month. You get a bonus show every week and access to card write-ups. Thank you again to our $10 patrons, Darren and Cole. Where can people find you guys?
You can find me on Twitter at Wiggums, 2 G's, 2 Z's.
You can find me at Plasma Eclipse.
And then you can find me at Atlas Novak in the same places I just listed. And until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm still Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And have a good night, everybody.